Here's something that might sound uncomfortable at first. The 2026 Harley-Davidson SCAT isn't trying to impress everyone, and that's exactly why it's interesting. When I first heard the name SCAT attached to a Harley project, I honestly rolled my eyes. It sounded like a branding experiment more than a real motorcycle. But the more I looked into what Harley seems to be aiming for here, the more I realized this bike is less about specs and more about attitude. I noticed Harley isn't chasing the usual performance headlines with this one. No loud promises about being the fastest or the most powerful. Instead, everything about the SCAT feels intentional, almost restrained, like Harley is testing how much character matters more than numbers. That already sets it apart. When I mentally compare the SCAT to recent Harley launches, especially the Pan America or even the Sportster S, the difference is clear. Those bikes felt like Harley proving something. The SCAT feels like Harley remembering something. Most people miss this part. Harley has spent years modernizing, and some fans loved it while others felt left behind. The SCAT looks like an answer to that tension, not by going backwards, but by slowing down. One big misconception is that this bike is supposed to compete with modern muscle cruisers from other brands. I don't think that's the point at all. If you judge it purely by horsepower per dollar or tech per pound, you're going to miss why it exists. What surprised me was how unbothered the SCAT feels. It doesn't scream innovation. It doesn't apologize for being simple either. That's rare right now. From what I can tell, Harley is leaning into a raw mechanical riding experience again. Less digital drama, more physical connection. And that matters more than people admit. Here's a practical takeaway if you're considering this bike in theory. Ask yourself how you actually ride, not how you wish you rode. If most of your riding is short bursts, city streets, back roads, and solo time, the SCAT's personality makes more sense than a feature-heavy touring machine. It feels built for moments, not miles. Another thing I keep thinking about is weight. Harley has been slowly trimming the excess over the years, but the SCAT feels like a psychological weight cut more than a physical one. The design looks lighter because it's less busy. Clean lines do that. People often confuse minimalism with laziness. That's a mistake. Minimalism is harder to pull off because there's nowhere to hide. Every proportion matters. Every sound matters. And Harley knows sound better than almost anyone. I wouldn't be surprised if the SCAT ends up sounding better than bikes that technically outperform it. There's a difference between loud and meaningful. Another misconception floating around is that this bike is aimed at younger riders only. I don't buy that. If anything, it feels aimed at riders who are tired of being told what they should want. That could be a 25-year-old or a 55-year-old. What I personally like is that Harley doesn't seem desperate with this model. There's no over-explaining, no forced narrative. That usually means the company believes in the product enough to let it breathe. Here's where I do have doubts, though. Pricing. Harley's biggest weakness lately hasn't been design or engineering, it's value perception. If the SCAT lands too close to bikes that offer more tech or more performance on paper, people will complain, loudly. But if Harley positions it as an emotional purchase rather than a logical one, it might actually work. The key is honesty. A bike like this needs to say, this is what it is, take it or leave it. That confidence is contagious. One thing I hope Harley doesn't mess up is over-accessorizing it from the factory. Let the aftermarket do its thing. The SCAT looks like a perfect blank canvas, and Harley riders love making bikes their own. Another small detail I noticed is how this bike seems designed to age well, not trend well, age well. That's huge. Some motorcycles look incredible for 1 year and dated the next. A simpler design buys you time. If you're the kind of rider who keeps a bike for 5, 10, even 15 years, that matters more than launch day hype. Here's another practical insight. This bike probably won't wow you on a spec sheet, but it might surprise you emotionally after a week of ownership. Those are usually the bikes people regret selling. I've seen it happen too many times. People chase numbers, get bored, and then miss the bike that made them feel something. I also think the SCAT is a quiet test from Harley, a way to see if riders still care about feel over features. If this bike succeeds, it says a lot about where the brand might go next. If it fails, it probably won't be because it was a bad motorcycle. It'll be because the market wasn't ready to slow down. And that's okay. Not every bike needs to be a bestseller. Some bikes just need to exist to remind people why they started riding. For me, the Harley-Davidson SCAT 2026 feels like one of those reminders. Not loud, not flashy, just honest. And honestly, that might be the most Harley thing Harley has done in a while.